The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel welcomes you to this edition of the Mayors and Supervisors Weekly Update, brought to you by...
Each week, our community makes history. Each week, you make history. And each week, there's only one source to turn to for the first take on history. You know what that is? Subscribe to the Sentinel right now to discover the history being made in your own backyard.
The Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel. More than just your news, it's your history.
Hey, welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Mayors and Supervisors Update. I'm Chris Carosa, publisher of the Mendon-Honeoye Falls-Lima Sentinel, and each week we bring you the goings-on of the towns and villages that we cover. We're starting off this week with Jerry in the town of Rush. Jerry, are things rushing in Rush? I knew you were complaining about that last time, so let's hear what's going on.
Well, as with most other places, Rush has its varying weather conditions, and today happens to be a beautiful one, which are most conditions in Rush. But we do have the, we would really like some rainfall now. I was down in Lakeville yesterday, and halfway between Lakeville and Avon, the rain was to the south, and north of that, there was no rain. There's John. And I wish that some of the wind would blow from the south and blow it up here, but it didn't, because we could use the rain. Anyway, wanted to let people know that we are in the budget season. I hope people decide to come to board meetings or budget meetings, whichever gets announced, so that they can see how we are handling their money. I think that's very important. It certainly is important to me, and it's especially important to me this year because of the cost of living going on, the minimum wage program that the state adopted a year or two ago, the impact of that, the impact of cost of insurance going up. And sometimes I just want to grab my head and pull what little hair I have left out, because it's hard to make sure you treat the residents, taxpayers correctly, the employees correctly, and focus on sustainability so that we can continue to do in the future what we do today. Anyway, an example of that would be, you know, we have this Rush Riverside Refuge that we got 12 years ago from New York State. And we're just getting to put a regular tenant in there, a tenant called a Horse's Friend. They're an outfit that teaches, I would say, discipline to young kids, and they do it through the use of horses. And I've been to paid a couple of visits to their facility, and it's really neat how you see little kids making sure their blankets their horse blankets, that is, are folded correctly, making sure their saddles are returned to the racks, et cetera, et cetera. It's a good thing to observe. So we are going to have a Horse's Friend at our Rush Riverside Refuge. That's the former Bosse's property on East River Road. And I would encourage anyone to pay a visit over there. The horses haven't arrived yet. They're in the process of putting fences up to secure them. But once you see horses running around over there, it'd be a good thing to stop and see what's going on. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we had the altered fireworks schedule here last week, and the fireworks were held here on Thursday night for the Rush Firemen's Carnival. And, you know, there were some people who voiced their unhappiness with that. And, but it came off without a hitch, which is good for me. And the carnival was I've heard, the largest financial success in recent years. So that's a good thing because it is an all volunteer fire department, and they do use the money that they earn through these fundraisers in a very, very responsible way. I can't tell you how much taxes would have gone up in town, not town taxes, but fire taxes, if they didn't have these events every year. So I'll stop there because I know that there's others who will follow me with much more important information. And it's good to see you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. And that is great news about the fire department. Rick, the village of Honeoye Falls, and maybe even Monroe County, if you've got any news there. What's going on?
Oh, it's great to see everybody. And, Jerry, I don't think our information is any more important than yours. You always bring in some great tidbits for sure. And I will say that I have also heard that the Rush Carnival was a huge success, as was Mendon's, I believe, this year. And I'll tell you, I enjoyed being in the parade. It was absolutely fantastic, and it's always a great turnout. So kudos to you. And you're absolutely right. Our fire departments do a lot for us as far as fundraising and holding down expenditure. So we appreciate that in each one of our communities. Our village projects and business continue to move forward. We've really struggled as of late with our highway DPW staff. It's been very shorthanded due to multiple issues: sicknesses, injury, and vacation. All part of the summer stuff, but we have a very small crew. And so when we're missing a couple people, that makes it even harder to get the work done. And on top of that, our summer help support is winding down as well. I'm always impressed with the work that our DPW and highway crews do for all of our municipalities, I know, but certainly I speak about Honeoye Falls. I think that it's just a great group of people, and they do a fantastic job, and I really thank them for their work. Our EMS and fire crews continue to run calls at a record pace. An area of concern continues to be, and I've mentioned this over the last few weeks, continues to be the intersection of Stony Lonesome Road and Clover Street. That intersection, that guardrail was replaced within the last month or two, and it is in a ditch again. We've had two pretty serious calls there over the last 2 weeks. I've had multiple contacts with the New York State DOT, and they're working with us on this. They're working on a review and potential improvement to that area that I think will be beneficial to our emergency services, our residents, and certainly the town, as that's in the town's area. But that area, I can't tell you how many calls and accidents we've had there over the years. It's just a real tough area. A notice has just recently gone out over the last day or so to our local residents regarding a public hearing with the Zoning Board of Appeals that is being scheduled for September 6th, 2022 at 7 p.m. That will be at the Village Hall, and that is to hear and act upon a request for an amendment to the approved site plan of the Wolfsburger Park project. And that request is to allow an increase in the building height of some of the homes, some of the patio style homes. And the hope is that this will provide a more flexibility in housing for the potential buyers. Supporting documents of all this can be reviewed at the village office during normal business hours. Our village promotional video series continues to move ahead and is going very well. We hope to finish up the last couple videos through mid-September, and we expect a really nice finished product. We appreciate CGI for their efforts, and also the many businesses that have taken part in the video interview and filming process. As far as county projects, there's always a lot going on. A lot of concerns continue about public safety, and we hear about this every day within the city of Rochester and throughout Monroe County. One of the big focuses for the county ledge has certainly been the appointment of the public defender's position. I feel strongly that this is coming to a conclusion. We understand that this has gone on a long time, but it's a very challenging process that we see as concluding very soon. Another big topic of discussion is the Seneca Park Zoo improvements. The current price tag it's just a big number, over $140 million, I believe, if I have the number correct. I don't have all these numbers directly in front of me right now, but of that, the state of New York has committed some $45.5 million. The Zoo Society has committed to raising some $23 million. And then the county will need to provide somewhere in the $80 to $90 million for this project. And, you know, I am not against at all the zoo project. I would love to see a world-class zoo through these improvements. But we have many needs throughout the county. We have real public safety issues, as I just mentioned, within the city of Rochester and county. And I feel personally our Monroe County Jail needs some major upgrades as well. I would really like to hear from our constituents within the 5th Legislative District on your thoughts about this project. I'm certainly seeing emails from people in support and against the project, but I would just ask that any emails from those within the 5th Legislative District be sent to me at legislatormilne@gmail.com. That's legislatormilne@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of these projects and some of the concerns that you have, both locally, but also throughout the county. And I appreciate the time, Chris. It's great to see everybody.
Thanks, Rick. Mike, Town of Lima, what's happening there?
Well, Chris, we're halfway through August, and the Town of Lima is pleased to announce that the New York State Department of Transportation has completed their renovation of the intersection of Bragg, Dorn, and 5 and 20. It included cutting the hillside back on the northeast corner so that people on Bragg Street could see down the hill into the intersection, and putting up the yellow 40-mile-an-hour signs, which is a suggested speed limit, either side on 5 and 20, and then red legging the signs. So if you've seen these, it's taking the signposts and putting a giant red reflective stripe all the way down the legs so that they are much more visible. 5 and 20 has those in both directions. A double stop sign on Bragg Street, again with the red legs on there. And that's it. So hopefully that is enough to stem the tide of accidents there. But I guess time will tell. Coming up in the next week or so, I'll be meeting with the town's insurance agent for the annual review, meeting with the accountants for the budget review, tax cap review, etc. And we also had another walkthrough with a Siemens subcontractor who does the design work for heat pump technology for here in the town hall. It is an interesting mixture of things that that massive corporation can pull in to make a project work. But we're very excited, and hopefully someday the single pipe steam boiler will be a thing of the past. And that's all I got, Chris.
Thanks, Mike. John, Town of Mendon.
Hi, Chris.
There you go.
I was, I think they, the common reference is AWOL last week, but I'm going to say that that I was COVID positive last week, so I did not participate. However, for those of you who've been through COVID, it's not a lot of fun, but I will say that, I came out of it fine and getting better every day. While on that subject, I will say that these, for anybody who's watching, which is the iHealth COVID-19 tests, which I've broken into a few boxes of these lately. the expiration dates, I was told by Dr. Mendoza, the county from the county health department, that those are good for 3 months, 90 days past their expiration date. So we still have a couple of boxes, a couple of cases at town hall. You're more than welcome to swing in here and grab them. We also have some at the Mendon Public Library. So for folks who had escaped COVID as I had for an extended period of time, once you test positive, you generally want to do a few more tests in a short period of time. So feel free to stop in and grab some of those if you need them. A couple of things I'll echo on Jerry's point from the town of Rush is that we're working on our 2023 budget. This is probably going to be one of the tougher budgets we're going to have to experience. Just like everyone else's household budget, we've seen increases in fuel prices for the highway department. We've seen, everyone has seen that the cost of labor is gone up all over the boards, and we need to, we have good employees. We want to keep those folks, but by the same token, we've got to stay competitive with the labor market. So we are working on that. One positive point is that the state of New York was out fixing potholes on Route 65 Clover Street in the last few days. Very happy to see that. We've been in touch with the state numerous times about Route 251, which they worked on earlier this summer, filling some potholes, and now we're seeing Route 65 Clover Street, that road also being attended to by the state of New York. So I was glad to see that. Also, we've been monitoring a flood study of Mendon-Honeoye Creek. We've had flood problems in the hamlet of Mendon, and we've been participating with a study. And there's another meeting later this month on some of the conclusions that the state has come up with for that flood study. So we'll be paying attention to that, and hopefully we'll see some improvements in and around the hamlet based on the conclusions of that study. We have a couple of special town board meetings coming up. That is August 22nd and August 29th. Both are 7 o'clock at the Mendon Town Hall. Those are being scheduled to consider a moratorium on short-term rentals in the town of Mendon. We've had some experiences, I will call them lately, with some short-term rentals. Most people are most familiar with the VRBO and those types of situations. And we've had several comments from residents about these VRBOs popping up in their neighborhoods and along their streets. So we're going to consider a moratorium, and we're going to look into our code as far as making sure that it's adequately up to date for these types of activities. There's also a seminar in Canandaigua at the end of September that's being put on by the Comptroller's Office and the Association of Towns that we will be attending to further our knowledge on this subject. And last, two things actually. There's a senior citizens meeting on September 13th at noon at the Mendon Community Center. I would strongly suggest any senior citizens who would like to attend. We have, since COVID has kind of left us, we've seen different activities start to pop up again, and certainly the senior citizens. We partner with the Village of Honeoye Falls for the senior citizens, and they are planning some trips and some exciting activities for the rest of 2022 and into 2023. So anybody who's interested, please attend those monthly meetings. And lastly, the former library on Monroe Street, Honeoye Falls, as we have talked on many occasions, the youth center, which I call the 1970s portion of the library, which is the portion away from furthest away from Monroe Street. We transformed that into a youth center slightly before COVID. I think it was open 2 or 3 months. We had to shut it down. We're looking at opening that up this fall. And then the oldest portion of that building, which I call the 1930s, which was the library when I was a kid, that is going to be transformed into a Girl Scout house. So the Girl Scouts are going to be using that space. They're in the process of putting a little sweat equity into that space because, quite honestly, there's a little bit of dust in there. So they're going to put a little sweat equity into that, and we're updating a few things in that portion of the building, and they're going to be able to keep a lot of their supplies there, have meetings there, that type of thing. And as everyone knows, the Boy Scouts have had a scout house at Harry Allen Park for about 100 years. And this will give the Girl Scouts an opportunity to meet locally as well. So thanks for having me, and glad to be back from the dreaded virus.
Glad to have you back, John. Anybody else have anything to say that they may have forgotten? Seeing none, we want to thank you all for being a part of today's show. Thank you for watching. Remember, we air every Sunday at 1 o'clock on our Facebook page. Like the page and you'll be notified when it's aired, and as well as on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that and you'll be informed when it airs. That's all for this week, folks. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye for now.
Right.
Imagine yourself communicating with a difference. Pan-Dimensional Solutions helps you do this. Whether live spectator events, taped broadcasts, or real-time audience-engaging programs, you can benefit immediately from the tools Pan-Dimensional Solutions will share with you. Do you want to make a difference? Contact us at pandimensional.com.